on? Okay. 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 Because tonight we talk about we're wonderfully made. This body, and I don't think God make any mistake. I don't think if God will do it over again the way He designed this body, I don't think He'll make any change, because this body, our body, is perfectly wonderfully made. He's happy with it. After His creation, what does He usually say? It is good. And in fact, towards the end, it is very good. And I like to say that the reason why He said it's very good, you know why? Because He created you and me that day. Very good. The crowning glory of His creation is human being. It's us. Okay? Is it on yet? So, with that wonderfully made body, tonight we're going to talk about how to sustain this body, the perfect fuel for it. Okay, so I'm still not going to talk about diseases, okay, because disease will not happen if you exactly follow God's prescription. And of course, a lot of people would argue with that thought, but we can claim God's word, right? He promised, if you follow me, none of these diseases. And I had a conversation this morning that you can't really say that you can get sick, because it's part of life. But no, you can claim God's word. We don't have to get sick. Okay, and if I still get sick after I did everything, then that's God's problem. It's no longer mine. Okay, as long as you did your part, God may have a plan still for something else to happen. Okay, just sort of review. We talk about wonderfully made. Awareness of the physiology of the human body is an amazing autonomous living machine. This is a living machine. It's amazing. Okay? So we talk about you're not feeding yourself. Every time you eat, don't ever think that you're feeding yourself. That's why you're eating the food because you like it. Because you're feeding the trillion you. Okay? It is your cells that you are feeding. And then we talk about the organs. It's a perfect body harmony. They have the symphony of systems that work side by side. It cannot function one without the other. And also we talk about telomeres. This is the wick of human life. And actually, let me share you something, additional information about it. It says there, this is what science said about telomeres and how to lengthen it or to shorten it. It says that the consumption of fruits, vegetables, and other antioxidant-rich foods has been associated with longer protective telomeres. In contrast, the consumption of refined grain soda, meat, including fish, and dairy has been linked to shortened telomeres. Okay? Because you know why? The animal protein would speed up the shortening of the telomere. And also, they have proven that 3 months of whole foods, plant-based nutrition, and other healthy changes significantly boost telomerase activity. Meaning, because remember now, they have billions of cells die every day, so we have to replicate the healthy ones. And every time cells replicated, the telomere shortened. But it would speed up every time that there is some animal-based products in there. The telomerase activity would cease or would shorten the telomere. The only intervention ever shown, it is the only intervention, they tried everything else, but this is the only intervention that actually worked, okay? So we talk about healthy lifestyle can boost telomerase enzyme, weight loss through caloric restriction, and this is what an even more vigorous exercise program failed to improve telomere length. So even, the first thing that people think when they are overweight, they would say, I want to lose weight. They thought that's the only thing to make you healthy, okay? But even if you go through a regimen of weight loss regimen and you exercise vigorously, this doesn't strengthen the telomeres, okay? It doesn't help in the progress, okay? So So we talk about that, and also we talk about the immune system, what guards our body, and the internal community. We have like the government, the brain, we have the filtration system, all of that. We talk, again, just a very short review of the physiology of the body. And I mentioned something about that God has a signature inside us. You heard about this, right? Laminin. It's just amazing. It's just amazing that even how it is formed, okay? We know that in Colossians 1:17, it says, He is before all things, He meaning Jesus, and in Him all things hold together. So Jesus literally, in the macro world, in the universe, He was holding everything in place, right? And the inside of us, every single human being that He created, okay, He is inside us. This is what the laminin. So what happened is, in the laminin, so there's one cell here, there's one cell on this side, there's another cell right there, another cell right there. It is because of the trillion cells made up our body, so that what glues us together is that laminin. And isn't that amazing how that is shaped in the shape of the cross? That's Jesus' signature. See how wonderful you are? So that's why I think about this one. And towards the end, I share you the verse that this is God's temple. So this body is really special. So let's talk about tonight of what is the perfect fuel God designed for this body. And I'm sure a lot of you knows this already. Okay, so they were fearfully and wonderfully made. So we'll talk about human body nutrition. A lot of you has an idea about this, and hopefully you get something in addition to what you have already know. So this is nutrition. Notice right here the definition. The provision to what? Cells. Okay? Cells and organisms of the materials necessary. So what happened is after sin, of course, sin has perverted our thoughts and thinking. Instead of our focus is outside, we focus of self. Okay? And especially, what is the very thing that Satan used to tempt human beings? Well, food. And he even attempted to use it with Jesus. So what would you think he is going to use with us? So that's why, look at this. Everything you go to the grocery store, what percentage of the area that's allocated for fresh produce? What percentage do you think? It's just one corner right there, fresh produce, and everything else is packaged. Okay? So that's why if you buy food that has nutrition ingredients or a label, then they are no longer whole foods. Okay? They're processed foods. All right? So this is what the body needs. We need just 6 nutrients. So this perfect body designed by God needs 6 nutrients. It needs carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And those 3 up there is called macronutrients. These are the nutrients that has calories. These are the one that powers the body, that fuels the body, literally. Okay? So we need everything. We need carbohydrates, of course, not the biggest percentage. Eat a lot of this and seldom this. And no wonder why we get sick. Okay? So, the sources of nutrients, usually either plants or animal-based. And, of course, we know what God has prescribed, right? God prescribed in the beginning, okay? We call them the Edenic diet. In 129 it says, God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant. Okay, think about that. Seed-bearing plant. And also tree that has fruit with seed in it. And this is what the Bible is saying. They will be yours for food. This is what God prescribed. On this perfect body, this is the food that God intended for us to eat for how long? Forever, for eternity. So, in this perfect body, this is the perfect diet. This is the perfect fuel for the body. Okay? Now, if we look at them, the seed-bearing plant, and what the science says about this, of all the food groups, fruits is the one that contributes to longevity. The fruit group contributes more to longevity. Okay? So most of it are tree that has fruit with seed in it, but then seed-bearing plant. Now let's look at them. If we so in the perfect Edenic diet, this is the eternal diet for eternal life: raw fruits and vegetables, raw nuts and seeds, and possibly raw grains. Now, let me ask you: do you think Eve has a kitchen? Huh? Is there a kitchen in heaven? It's going to be kitchen in heaven, you think? I don't think so. In Eden, there's none either. Okay? Because you know what? And there's even a book by, who was that? Joe Cruz. They titled Death in the Kitchen. Because what we do in the kitchen, we modify the foods that God designed. Okay? If you eat food that you can no longer recognize the ingredients, then it's no longer healthy for you. Okay, as much as possible, and we'll talk more about it. So, raw fruits, vegetables, raw nuts and seeds, and possibly raw greens. So let's look at them. Let's break them down. Now, the fruit is the end product of the bud that has seeds in them. So every time you had foods, plant foods that has seeds in them, are fruits. Okay? So let's look at them right here. So we have all this, citrus, acid fruits. They subdivided this one. They have citrus and acid fruits, sub-acid fruits, which are all of this right here. And also the sweet fruits, the palm fruits, neutral fruits, raw nuts, all of that. Seeds, okay. These seeds now are the herb-bearing seeds. The herb-bearing seeds, okay. The grains also, the legumes, okay, those are considered. And the melons, those considered fruits. And it is advised that best eaten alone. Don't mix it with the other fruits. But you can mix it with berries and because I personally experienced it when I started making fruit smoothie. I included the melon in them, and I have to keep running back to the bathroom. Okay, so best eaten by itself. Also, tomatoes, many varieties, nightshade family, the succulent foods, the herb-bearing seed. These are all the vegetable group right here. Okay, but eggplant right there, considered fruit. But okra, bell peppers, all of that, okay? But these are all seeds, so there's our fruit family. But, that's what we call on modern days as vegetables, okay? So the food for the perfect fuel for our body are raw fruits and vegetables and seeds and legumes, all of that, okay? So this is what Dr. Gerger said. What they found out that these are the scientists that are promoting plant-based diet. He said the healthiest diet is one that maximizes the intake of whole plant foods and minimizes the intake of animal-based foods and processed junk. You remember last year I showed you about the dining by stoplight? You know, you have green light foods, red light foods, and yellow light foods, things like that. So even vegan, that's why, for example, somebody said, how come Steve Jobs died? He's vegan. Now, yes, if you are vegan, if you just eat processed plant foods, then you're going to die of cancer. You may not die of a heart attack, your artery may be healthy, but the highly processed plant foods will create a lot of free radicals in your body that is like favorite food for cancer. Okay? So also Dr. Colin Campbell, he's the author of the China study. And if you have, who here have read the China study? Okay, so praise God. See? And so people who ate the most animal-based foods got the most chronic disease. People who ate the most plant-based foods were the healthiest. Now, it's been replicated, the science out there over and over again. There is no doubt at all. Okay, there's no doubt at all. So a lot of people, when we go into plant-based diet, what is the first question? Yep, they always ask question, protein. Okay, so, and what would be, instead of this question, what would be the right question? If somebody would confront you, find out that you're vegan or vegetarian, they ask you where you get your protein. What would be your question as you ask him back or the person back? What would be the right question? The right question would be, where'd you get your fiber? There's the reason why we get sick, because if you just eat your proteins and your carbs and your, from animal source and highly processed food, there's no fiber in them. And that's why we talked about bowel elimination last night. Like we should be, if you don't eat plants, whole raw foods, then you'll be carrying all those protein, animal protein in your body for several days. Okay? So the biggest question is, where'd you get your fiber? Not where'd you get your protein, because even vegetarians and vegans, we're still eating. If you consume a balanced diet, we're actually consuming enough protein, more than enough that our body needs. Okay, we usually 40 to 60 grams of protein we need. We only need 20, half of that one. And as vegetarians and vegans, we have a lot more than that. Okay, so we're never, plus, have you ever heard of anybody dying of protein deficiency? Never. There's none. Because we are taking in more protein than what we need. So fiber, by the way, is that carbohydrate that body cannot digest. Okay, it cannot digest. But what does it do? Women only need 20 grams, and men only need 30 grams. And hardly in the standard American diet, SAD diet, they hardly make even a tenth of that. Okay? They hardly make it to 10 grams. And they need at least 20 to 30, less than half. Okay? So that's the reason why we are experiencing a lot of diseases. So great sources, and guess what? Where can you get fiber? Only from plant kingdom, okay? Not from animal kingdom, all right? So your child, to determine your child, they suggested your child's age plus add 5 to their age. Like Una, for example, is 8 years old. She can have like, how much? 13 grams of fiber. She needs to eat 13 grams of fiber. So, again, the concern of people is that where would you get protein if you go plant-based? Because they thought that protein is only from animals. Isn't that what people thought? Okay, yeah. Yes, that's right, exactly. Okay, and somebody that made the argument and stumped the person. So you worry so much about getting protein? Look at the elephants. Okay, the apes. Okay, where do they get their protein? See, the same thing, and like the cows, where do they get their protein? And can you imagine that one? No flesh, no animals, human and animals can survive without protein, right? And because they thought you can only get it from flesh. They're thinking, and they never thought that, yes, that's right. Cows, where did they get their protein? So we should be eating what the cows are eating. Instead, they're eating the cow. So we are eating second-hand protein. Plus a baggage comes along with it. The animal fat and the cholesterol with it. Whereas if you eat what the cow eat from the grass, okay? But by the way, in Genesis 1:29, it said, perfect fuel for human beings are like the fruit-bearing seed, the herb-bearing seed. And in verse 30, it says that, and the herbs or the grass of the fields are the food for the animals. So during creation, in the Garden of Eden, even the animals are vegan, okay? Are vegans. And so sadly, after sin, instead of looking at the plants, we look at each other. And right now, animals run from us because, you know why? We're eating them. Okay? So that's the sad fact. That's what's happened. So, because if you look at it, now, if you look at 100 calories of steak, it has 5.4 grams of protein. If you eat 100 calories of broccoli, you will consume 11.2 grams of protein. But the thing, though, is that how much broccoli was that? That's a lot, okay? 3,000 3,000 grams of grams of broccoli would have 1020 calories, 78 grams of fiber, and 84 grams of protein. But look here, steak, 36.7 grams of protein and 0 fiber. Can you imagine? And they worry so much about protein. So again, the right question is, how about your fiber? Okay, that's the reason why people are getting sick, because there's not fiber. So this is the reference intake, 0.8 grams per kilo, 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, approximately 56 grams for men, 46 for women, 25 grams for an additional for pregnancy. You need more protein when you are getting pregnant. Again, we talked about last night that you're just not feeding two. We're feeding additional baby growing, but the other cells is the one that you're feeding. Okay. That I am very fond of watching, Dr. Greger, the author of How Not to Die. He's an evolutionist. And how can he even be an evolutionist? But yet everything about nutrition is perfectly support what the Bible said about plant-based. Okay? So, an early decade of extra life is enjoyed when a person moves away from eating animal foods and toward a plant-based diet. Okay? Again, in other words, we're just healthier. We're still going to die because we know that. The wages of sin is death. But we are not. That's just like Dr. Williams said. We are all going to die, but he said, I don't mind dying, but I just don't want to contribute into it. Okay? So in other words, God will hold us responsible of the things that we have control of. We should do our best, everything we can. If you know, just like when I went to school, every time I opened my textbook, boom, I instantly do it. So that somebody asked me, do you have a hard time? And I look back and I said, I'm not sure if I did. Because if I know that it's bad for me, then I immediately push it away. Even if we have still some in our pantry, when I find out that it's not good for me, I will push it away. I'll get rid of it. Okay? Because once you know you're responsible for a bit, why would you still put something in your mouth when you know it does damage to you? Okay? So let's talk. So we talk about protein, the carbohydrates, and the primary source of energy for the human body, of course, carbs. Everything converted into sugar. And what we're talking about, though, is that there are simple sugars or simple carbohydrates, and there's complex. Simple is highly processed. That's why we need to avoid that. So what are simple carbohydrates? White rice, white bread, white everything, okay? White grains. If they're highly processed, okay? And you have to realize that a cup of white rice is just equivalent to a can of soda. Okay, that's how the body recognizes it. It's simple sugars, very high glycemic index. That's why those that have diabetes advise not to eat white rice or white bread, because it's just convert quickly into sugar. Okay, whereas complex carbohydrates, but if you eat brown rice, like brown rice is complex, whole grains are complex carbohydrates. Okay, so they have complex carbohydrates, has fiber in them. White rice, all of the nutrients are taken away from it. Okay, or white bread. And they're converted into glucose right away before it can be utilized as energy source. And we need constant supply. Because what happened if, have you heard of some really dangerous diet? The Atkins diet, okay? That's very dangerous. You know why? Because if you're not eating carbohydrates, the body would turn the fat and the protein into glucose. In the process, from protein to glucose, the body would create ammonia, okay? Ammonia, which is, how do you know about ammonia? It's like a cleaning agent. So it create toxins in your body, okay? And fats is also turned into sugar. It would create some other compound that is dangerous to the body. So when the body has more glucose it needs, it converts excess fat, glycogen, and store for that is when, of course, you have to eat complex carbohydrates because that's what the body recognizes. If you eat simple carbohydrates, that's the one that the body will store as fat. And that's the one that would make you gain weight. And only plant foods are considered dietary sources of complex carbohydrates. There's no complex carbohydrates in animals, okay? In animal fat. So, have you seen this one? That's not actually a made-up picture. That's an actual burger. You know where's that? You can find this at, the name of the place is Heart Attack Grill in Las Vegas. And this news, I got this, Heart Attack Grill lives up to its name. Because you know why? They always have ambulances coming in and out from there. The people have a heart attack there. And you cannot sue them. Because the name of this burger is called quadruple bypass. That's the actual name. People would still line up to go there and eat. So the name of the place, Heart Attack Grill, and the name of their menu are quadruple bypass and whatever diseases are there. And people would still eat it. Can you believe that? Okay? It's amazing. And again, they're eating because of to satisfy their taste buds. And Dr. Esselstyn, he says, plaque does not develop until the endothelium, that's the lining of your artery, of the lining of arteries, is injured. And it is injured, look at this, every time people eat meat, dairy, fish, and chicken, okay, it would injure the plaque. And as early as 30 minutes of eating flesh foods, they have tested it. They would put, before you eat, so their participants, before they eat, they would measure their artery, the blood flow, how strong it is. 30 minutes after eating animal fats, they would measure it again. And guess what? It would reduce because fats, animal fats, and sugar, by the way, and added sugar, it would paralyze. You know, our blood vessel is supposed to be very elastic, and it has that peristaltic motion that would squeeze the blood for circulation. Now, if you eat animal fats and sugar, it would paralyze your blood vessels. The circulation would slow down. Okay? So, and also it become almost like brittle. You know, it cannot seal. If you puncture it, it won't seal it. And I tried it, one of my patients, and I came in, I stuck her 3 times already. I would find blood, the blood would come back, I can see it through the catheter, but then when I start injecting, it would just infiltrate. It would escape. You know why? Because the blood vessel doesn't seal the needle. So when you inject the contrast, it would spill over. Okay? So I told her, I said, did you drink water? I said, no, I don't drink water. I only drink soda. Can you imagine that? Okay, I told her, okay, this is what we're going to do. We'll stop this right now. I want you to right away drink 2 bottles of this water. Drink it right away. Okay? And then come back in 4 hours. After you finish this one, drink some more. And when your urine when you have scarring inside, it would trap the cholesterol. Okay? So that's why it builds up. If you keep eating the same way over and over again, it builds up the plaque inside. And that's why if it happens close to the heart, you get a heart attack. If it happens right here, you get a stroke. If it happens on your leg, you get you can get your leg amputated. Okay, so it's very dangerous. So animal-based foods, full of fat and cholesterol, whereas these foods contribute to the buildup of plaque. Remember 60,000 miles? We have to keep that open. This is the highway that distributes all the nutrients. And plant-based foods, on the other hand, that's the nice thing about this one, and I explain to my patients. The beauty of this, it's never too late. Because you can be in your advanced years and you could still benefit from changing to plant-based diet. Because the plant-based diet contains nutrients, actually improve the health of your arteries, reverse the progression. it can actually reverse it. Because the nitric oxide on plants would clean up the plaque inside your artery. It would open it up. Okay, I just did not include. I have a picture of an X-ray that showed the blood vessel in the heart when the person has heart attack, and then and after he converted to plant-based diet. Okay. And somebody argued with me that it's just not possible that heart disease can be prevented or reversed, or cancer or diabetes. But again, research showed that many times, replicated over and over again, that it can actually be prevented and reversed if you already have it. And you know what? The sad thing about this fact is that if you are older than 10 years old, if you're trying to eat healthy, you're just trying to reverse the heart disease that's already developing, because it starts as early as 10 years old. Can you imagine that? It starts at 10-year-old. If you are feeding your kids with animal-based foods, you are already ruining. And they did a study, and they started looking into it when they have this, during the Korean War, they have, the army. These are army young men that sent to the war zone. We know that they're healthy. Well, at least that's what we thought. And every autopsy that they did, every single one of them, from age 18 to 24, already have significant arterial damage, endothelial damage. Can you imagine that? And we thought, and again, and guess what? In the Far East, before 1960s, before the invasion of fast foods industry, the hospitals, the medical institutions, medical schools, they have to buy cadaver from the United States to study the atherosclerosis, or the hardening of the artery, because they don't have it there. They don't have it here. But after the fast foods that saturated Japan and China and the Philippines, no, we don't have to import cadavers anymore. Okay, they have the same, it's not ethnic disease. It is just lifestyle disease. Okay, it doesn't matter where you come from. Like Japanese has the longest, lifespan, longevity, when they're here. But when they go to the United States, it's just the same. They merge in, they eat the same way, there's no difference. Okay. Let me introduce you to this word, reductionism. This is the sad thing. It really makes pharmaceutical industry very rich. And you probably have read those that are opposed plant-based diet, and they say, soy is bad for you because it will make you impotent, or there has this, that, or so what happened is, that's why God created foods as a package deal. You do not separate the molecules. The reductionism is everything broken down into constituent parts, where food is reduced to its collection of single compound with single effects. Remember in the 1930s, they were able to extract vitamins and minerals. They made pills. And they thought, oh man, we can just eat whatever we want because we can just drink our vitamins. They did that. But guess what happened? The incidence of cancer, heart disease, keep going up every year. So what's going on? We are taking these vitamins and pills. So what happened is, that's why God intended that all those components inside this food as a package, they're designed that way. You take one out, you separate them, okay, it's not good for you. Like, for example, cashew nuts, or so many other nuts are like, you can use some of its components in its oil as fuel for, or oil for engine, okay? So if you separate some components of food, it become toxic for you, it become poisonous for you. So that's why you eat foods as a package as much as possible. And I'm starting to lean towards not using vegan word. I'd rather, because there are vegans that are still dying of diseases. Okay? The only reason, because you need to eat whole foods. I like to use whole foods, plant-based diet, meaning as it is. Yeah, I shared with you before that God made the apple. Don't make an apple pie out of it. It's an insult to God. Rizzo, okay, or Diane, this is not good enough for you. This is how I designed it. Eat as I made it. Now, if you started chopping it and make apple pie of it, then it's no longer healthy for you, okay? Like in the Philippines, we have banana, we make banana cue, right? we fry them and put a lot of sugar in it, okay? It's a big insult to the Creator, whoever, that God made. And this is reductionism, okay? We make band-aids for every symptoms, whereas we should eat food as a package. And food should be our medicine, the only medicine you would need. You eat every day anyway. Eat the medicine that would protect you from getting sick. Okay, so we talk about that one, the carbohydrates, the protein, and the fats. This is what we are eating, what people are eating primarily, the macronutrients. What we are missing is the micronutrients. This is the one that protects the body. So the macronutrients, we have the minerals, vitamins, and water. Okay. They are various fat-soluble, for example, the vitamins, they don't have any calories, but they're the one that would make us healthy. Okay. It's not energy producing like the macronutrients. They have calories, okay? They physically provide us energy. But vitamins, they have no calories. They're calories, but they're not energy producing. And this is what the the pharmaceutical industry was taking advantage of, okay, by making pills. And they're like billions of dollars. Can you imagine that? The FDA would approve a product, and 6 months later they pull it out because they're killing people, but nobody ever went to jail. Why is that? You know why? By then they're making billions of dollars, and they can afford to hire dozens of attorneys to protect them, and they usually just settle out of court. Hey, they made billions and billions of dollars. They can award a couple of millions here and there. They still made money. Okay? That's what's going on. Okay. We only need them small as a team. Notice a basketball team. How many of them? How many players? 5. Each of them has function. What if you take out, for example, the center? Can they still play? They can, but how effective? Okay, so that's why the same thing with vitamins. The body is so, we are wonderfully made, so we shouldn't be surprised. If you have all the vitamins and minerals in your food, if you look at your plate, if you eat them, the body will only absorb the right amount of each nutrient. So you're never going to get deficient on one and over-nutrited on the other. It will only absorb the right amount. So that's why it's important for you to eat. And I think I shared with you last time the number 5, right? 5 different colors and 5 varieties. So if you look at your plate, you count the colors. You count the colors in your plate. Make sure if you only have 3 colors, don't start eating until you have 5. Now, and meat doesn't count as color. Okay. However, and highly processed food does not count as colors as well. These has to be different varieties of fruits and vegetables in your plate before you start eating. Okay? And because they must be available sufficient amount for normal body to function. And see the work in carrying out body, they help each other. They work as a team. Okay, we talk about that one. It functions best when all are present in the appropriate proportion. So you need to eat a variety of foods to supply our nutrients, and we have to eat rainbow of colors. Like for example, white strengthens the immune system, green purifies with detoxification, red to improve heart and blood health, yellow to fortify skin elasticity, orange to prevent cancers, and purple to increase longevity. So eat a rainbow color. And I like that song. Where did you get that song? A long story. Okay, if it's okay with you, if you can share with me, I could use that one when I get back to say. Remember when I ate a rainbow? There's a part of the song. What did it say? When I eat a rainbow daily of good foods God made for me. Yeah, see. So we need to eat a rainbow. So we need to have that in your plate. So again, make it a practice, and it will help you greatly. Before you eat, look at your plate. How colorful. Make it very colorful. And no, food coloring doesn't count. Okay? It has to be normal coloring that God has designed it. Okay? So you need to eat white, green, red, yellow, orange, purple. Now, when I make even my fruit smoothie, when I go shop, and my wife knows it already, I would have fruits in every color on it. Okay? And also our vegetables. Of course, you can have, it's a lot of colors. There's a reason why God made them technicolors, okay, because it represents nutrients. Each color represents nutrients. Okay, balanced diet contains not only the essential vitamins, but also other important substances that contribute to well-being. Okay, let's get, what time we have? And supplements doesn't replace the actual fruits. So if you have access to foods, eat the fruit. If you live in Alaska and you don't have enough supply of fruits and vegetables, you can take vitamins, okay, to supplement yourself. But all of those supplements out there, they're not well regulated, and many of them actually doesn't, if it says whatever milligrams, it doesn't really have that nutrient that it's there. Okay, and in fact, if you don't buy anything from China, I hope I don't offend any, but it's not true, because they are laced with some chemicals, toxins, you know, so that when they tested it. So supplements, avoid them. And the reason why you eat foods whole, because of the phytochemicals. Okay, the phytochemicals are the ones that protect the plants. You know, the very things, the chemicals that protect the plants, it protects our body as well. So we should eat them. So as much as possible, do not peel. Even banana peel has a lot of nutrients in them. A lot of nutrients in them. Banana peel. Okay. So when you have fruits, eat the skin of it as well. Well, it's and also banana. Best way to eat banana when it's really overripe. We have more. We call it the TNF, the total necrot. The one that, what do you call it, stop cancer cells to proliferate. You know, eat a ripe banana. When you start having blotches, black spots in the skin, okay, that's the best way to eat them, okay? So phytochemicals, it protects the plants, protects the body as well because of the antioxidants. Oh, you heard of antioxidants, right? Because you know why? Every time by me moving like this, it creates free radical in my body. Okay? So if you don't have enough antioxidants, it would accumulate. And it would become cysts, tumors, and eventually cancers. Okay. Every time you move or you eat some bad foods, highly processed food, it would create free radicals inside your body. Okay? Now, if you are not eating any plant foods, because antioxidants only comes from plants, because those free radicals will become friendly again. You know how free radicals work, right? The atom, the electrons of the atom, every time you move, it gets knocked out. It's missing an electron. So that atom that is part of the cell would become erratic because each cell knows what it's supposed to do. It becomes a skin, it becomes a nail, it becomes a hair, something like that. If you have free radicals in them, the free radicals would keep robbing electrons from the neighboring cells. Okay? And so it would be, if you're not eating antioxidants, nothing can replace it because antioxidants would give electrons back to the free radicals to become friendly again. Okay? So by the way, I'll be telling a children's story this Sabbath, and I have an illustration using the kids. I did that over at our church. So hopefully the kids can understand it, and the adults too can have an idea what's going on. Because the immune system that protects us, okay? But then those immune system can become free radicals, okay? And so you need antioxidants, okay, to replace those free radicals. And antioxidants only come from plants. And I asked them, okay, what type of food you eat? Pizza. And so one of the immune system I replaced them with free radicals and made an opening for the germs to come into the body and make the person sick. Okay? So antioxidants, very important. Okay, so when vitamins obtained from foods, part of balanced diet, we're less likely to take an excessive amount of any one vitamin that could interfere with the absorption or function of another. Again, we need to have all of them present. Okay, don't just eat, and of course I grew up with just rice and fish. Or back in my place, corn and fish. Okay, you look at it. I have white, and the fish color doesn't count. I only have one color. Okay, so that's why we get sick easily there. Okay, so we'll skip to this one. You know all the vitamins. Okay, these are all the vitamins that our body needs. And of course, the only thing that we are missing if you go plant-based diet is the vitamin B12. And actually, it's only produced by animals. We produce them too. Sadly, it's towards the end. So we just defecate them. And there are actually some doctors that are harvesting them. It's called cropology. Okay, but it's gross thinking about this. But it's pure form of B12. Now, we however, produce B12 in our mouth. So when you wake up in the morning, don't gargle. You drink water, you squeeze it around your mouth and swallow it. Okay? So don't waste the saliva. It would only be smelly when you spit them out, but you just squeeze water and swallow it. The pseudo B12, however. Okay? Nutrients can be destroyed by cooking. Okay? Or it can be exposed. That's why don't cut your... I think I got it right here. I'm ahead of myself. So don't cut your fruits. If you cut them, store them, less exposure to air because it gets oxidized and you lose some of the nutrients. So when preparing for them, try to minimize the length of time they're exposed to the air. That means you cut your fruits and vegetables immediately before consumption or cooking. Okay, not cut it in the morning and cook it in the evening. You lose a lot of nutrients already by then because it's exposed to air. Okay, and don't cut them in very small spaces, small pieces, because you increase the surface area for loss of nutrients. Okay, cook very small amount of water to minimize nutrient losses. And in fact, I don't use a lot of I didn't use microwave oven because it creates toxicity to foods. But microwave actually doesn't damage the nutrients, the micronutrients. It's amazing. I don't know how that works. Okay, so if I guess it's okay to microwave tomatoes because the lycopene would come out more on it. So vegetables need not be covered with water. The steam in the covered container will soften the food. Tightly covered pan to prevent loss of nutrients. So when you use the liquid in fruits and vegetables, you guess where the nutrients, most of it, is in the liquid. So don't throw them away, use it. Like when my wife would boil some corn, I would drink the water. Okay, it's really good for your kidney, for your kidney health. And cook for the shortest amount of time possible. We should not cook. We should, again, if you cook at 118 degrees, it's still considered raw. Okay, so above 118, it's already cooked. Okay, so below 118, it's still considered raw. Now, the minerals, you know what it does. The calcium, for example, it helps our bones. Okay, iron provides the core for the heme and hemoglobin in our blood, red blood cell. Okay, and red cobalt is the atom at the center of B12 molecule. We need to eat minerals so that we can metabolize the B12 better. Okay, sodium, potassium, control over the body water. So these are all the minerals, and notice all of them just came from plants. So we're never going to be deficient. Iodine is necessary to constituent of the thyroid hormone. Okay, again, they're all from plants. You can't get all of them. But the bioavailability, however, that's why there's a certain food combination. Like, for example, oxalates, spinach is best eaten by itself, not with the other greens, because a very high content of oxalates. What it does is like monopolizing. It monopolizes. For example, you eat spinach along with cabbage, for example, or another green. It would suppress the absorption of the other greens. I just want it to be absorbed by itself. Okay? So it's best to eat salad. If you just have a salad dressing or salad with your quinoa, something like that, not with the other greens. So because it monopolizes, okay, over the other. So phytates also in grains can bind minerals. Okay. Let's just skip this one, because I just pasted all of this thing in here. Because tea also has a high oxalate, interferes absorption of particular minerals. So when you're eating food, don't drink tea. If you drink tea while you're eating your meal, don't drink tea. Drink tea by itself after you're done with your food digestion. Okay. Sorry, I'm just skipping all of this. I tried to really eliminate a lot of this, but I still have some. Water. How much water? This is number six nutrients, and easily available. How much water we need? Do you have an idea? We always say. What's that again? Yeah, you can easily just remember it by just half of your weight in ounces. Okay, half your weight. And more if you sweat a lot when you're exercising.
So, Risa, while you're looking, where can you get iodine? What particular vegetable or fruit iodine?
Its best source is nuts and seeds. Okay, there's a lot of the dark greens as well. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, so just and a lot of greens, dark greens, dark greens, a lot of iodine in them. And nuts and seeds, a lot of minerals, and then most of the minerals we get them from nuts and seeds. So this is what I shared last year. These are the types of food preparation. I give you this word: biogenic, bioactive, biostatic, bioacidic. Biogenic are life-giving. We should be 25% of our food coming from that group. Life-sustaining, the bioactive. Biostatic, life-slowing, 25%. And bioacidic is life-destroying at 0%. But sadly, most of the food that we're eating bioacidic and biostatic food. Biogenic are sprouts are the best food source of all the nutrients. We're still, and the body, that's the food that the body really recognizes. So sprouts, use a lot in your salad or sandwiches. Put sprouts in them. And any like Brussels sprouts or alfalfa sprouts or any mongo sprouts, anything that you can sprout them. Okay. And bioactive. These are the raw and whole foods, juiced and consumed immediately, dehydrated or dried and frozen is okay, but you already lose nutrients. But as much as possible, consume them as raw and whole. Biostatic. This is the one that people primarily eat. Steamed, raw leftovers, cooked and cooked leftovers. Notice, cooked leftovers, and especially we love to store the leftovers, and before eating, you heat them again. What happened? So you lose all the nutrients in there already. You're just having calories. You have the calories and fats, and cholesterol is still there, but the nutrients totally gone. So there's no micronutrients in them. This is the ones that we need to avoid. Bioacidic foods. Any food that's microwave, it become bioacidic. It loses 90 to 99% plus toxins, creates a lot of free radicals. Commercially canned foods, 100% loss plus toxin. Again, the way they would process them. And foods with additives, we have to avoid them, 100% loss plus toxins. So when you buy foods that has labels in them, nutrition labels, it should be that the main ingredients you can easily see. Okay, that, for example, you buy corn, it should say corn. Okay, and then they would add all those iodized salt. So as much as possible, when I buy peanut butter, for example, I only buy peanut butter that says peanuts. Nothing else. Okay, that's the healthiest. All right, if you have some more ingredients added to it, they become unhealthy. Okay, especially when you look at the ingredients and it has a lot of abbreviation or words that you cannot pronounce, that means they're not good for you. Okay, did I share this with you last year? GOMS, this acronym, remember this one, GOMS. GOMS meaning greens, okay, onions, mushrooms, beans and berries, and seeds and nuts. Include this every day in your diet. It is anti-cancer and healthy foods. Top 2 killers of the people today are cancer and heart disease. So if you include all of this, GOMS, G-O, just like combs, just replace the C with G. So GOMBS, greens, onions, mushrooms, beans, berries, seeds, and nuts. Include this every day in your food as much as possible. Should be fresh. Of course, the beans, you have to cook them. Okay, but when you cook them, you can cook them, but don't add. Because I add my beans onto my salad at night. My salad at night, I have my seeds, nuts, and beans. But of course, the liquid that I use for my fruit smoothie is soybeans, and I made it myself. I just put them. I used to my soy milk maker is broken, so you can just put it in a Vitamix, just a cup of it, fill up my Vitamix, and I have milk, nothing added. It's strictly soy. But if you drink it by itself, it doesn't taste good. But I use it as liquid for my smoothie. It tastes really good. Yeah. Okay. So, again, just to end our lecture tonight, just to be reminded that this is we're wonderfully made. We're special to God. So these are the perfect fuel, what we just talked about. Whole foods, plant-based. That's it, and nothing else. Okay? But again, me and Marisa were just talking about it, and she mentioned to me that it might not be practical in some parts of the world. And that's true. But as long as you do your best, okay, wherever part of the world you are, like for example, I'm stranded in some place and the only food there, if I'm on an island and the only thing I can eat is fish, I would eat fish. Okay? Only in places that you have choices, choose the one that's healthy for you and the what God intended for you to eat. But in places that there is not much availability of foods, you eat what you can. But of course, if foods that the Bible really said that it's not good for you, then I'd rather offend the person who offered to me than I would offend God. I would still say, I will not be a good witness if I would eat pork or shrimp and it's offered to me, and oh, this is the only food we have. I would just say, I'm so sorry. I appreciate the offer, but I cannot eat it. It's against my conscience to do so. And they would start asking. In fact, that happened to me many times. They would ask question, why do you don't eat this? See, that's an opening. Okay? Instead of eating them exactly as what they're eating, you are not a witness to them. Okay? So I'd rather offend them than offend God. And I'm sorry to say. Okay? So tonight, our body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. Okay? And you are not your own. Think about that one. You are on loan. Your body that you have, God loaned it to you. Okay? This belongs to God. So we have to take care of it. So we know now that we're wonderfully made. We know now what's the perfect fuel to it. Tomorrow we'll talk about what is it that could suppress our health. And then the next night we'll talk about diseases. That's where we start. Those diseases, that's why I put it in the fourth day, because we're not supposed to get there. Okay? So what we talked about last night, this wonderful body, if we focus on the perfect fuel, we're not going to get to the diseases. You agree with that one? Okay? But God promised. We can claim that promise. Okay? So that ends our lecture tonight. And if we have any question.
Protein and the lack of it in different processed food.
Mm-hmm.
We as Adventists, we pride ourselves a lot of times on being mindful of the health principles, but we oftentimes eat a lot of Morning Star, veggie burgers and veggie leaks and stuff like that. That's processed.
Yes. Yes.
Any thoughts about
Ah,
that?
yes, definitely. They're not healthy for you.
Amen.
These are what you call transition foods.
Yes.
Meaning, if you're a meat eater, you plan to become a vegetarian, and you miss hot dog, get a hot dog, vegetarian hot dog. But guess what? Okay, there's no nutrients in them. Instead, they're very high in sodium. It might save you from getting heart disease, but it won't save you from getting cancer. That's why a lot of Adventists in the Philippines, vegetarian, dying of colon cancer. Gluten, they have gluten derivative. Okay, gluten is the end product. It's paste. There's no nutrients in them. Okay, so they're not healthy for you. But again, if that's your only cup, if you eat it once in a while, it's fine. And eat it under if you're eating meat or fish, things like that, we're eating it wrong in the first place, especially in the Philippines, because we eat meat with rice. If you want to eat meat or flesh, you eat it with a lot of vegetables. Okay, a lot of fiber around it. That's the healthier way of eating fresh food.
I'm just curious how, I've heard the things garlic, but how do you prepare to eat it? I'm sure you probably eat it too.
Yeah, garlic. Well, this is what happened. Right now, the way I do my salad, I would saute the garlic, onion, my mushroom, and my tomatoes, because you need to cook the tomatoes to get the lycopene out, and you need to have a lot of onions. So I look at the gomes, and since I have all my, and the best way to consume the lycopene, so I have my garlic in there, but I don't use oil. Oil is considered fat, okay? And even if it's vegetable oil, think about this one. The oil is extracted from plants. What did I say? Any component of the plant separated from its whole, it's not healthy to you, because the fat will become oxidized, exposed to the air, oxidized, okay? So the best way to cook garlic, you can consume garlic also fresh. Okay, of course this doesn't smell very good, but you can consume them fresh. You can mash them or chop them, and you include it whatever in your salad. Okay, but yeah, you need garlic. Okay, any other?
The chopping
I sliced it, but you said we should cut it in very small pieces. So is that okay?
Well, again, if you slice it small, you should consume it right away. Because only when you cut it and let it sit there a long time, it oxidized, it's exposed to oxygen, so you lose the nutrients. But that's why when you cut, if you're planning to cut your salad, you consume it right away. Don't save it for the next day or a few hours later, eat it a few hours later, because you lose a lot of nutrients already by then.
Okay. Also, I read that sprouts are not very good for pregnant women. Have you ever heard something?
Well, I really believe that God design is good for us. Okay. The only thing that certain foods will become not good for us, if you are just like what I said, if the other nutrients are not present. Because the body will only absorb the right amount. Okay. And the sprouts and the nutrients is concentrated in there. Now, if you could just keep eating every day, and that's most of your food consists of that one, then it might